Welcome, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Kiana Faircloth. That's right, folks, we're back with a brand new episode of Studio 901, and we are excited to continue spotlighting local, emerging, and established artists that are creating right here in the DMV. With us, you'll discover some of the area's greatest treasures, some of our best-kept secrets, and hear some never-before-told stories about living the creative life. And if you don't know, this show is DCTV's greatest exploration of the art that is among us. Joining me today on Studio 901 is Restoration Stage Incorporated. Restoration Stage is an independent theater company, best known for the original works of its founders, playwright Stephen A. Butler Jr., director and lyricist Courtney Baker Oliver, and composer Christopher John Burnett. It is a partnership that has yielded the critically acclaimed The Truth, All That Glitters, and Chocolate-Covered Ants. The core focus of Restoration Stage Incorporated is to produce innovative theatrical productions with themes that contribute to the ongoing dialogue about how to improve the condition of the family in American society. Founders Courtney Baker Oliver and Stephen A. Butler Jr. created Restoration Stage Incorporated in May of 2005 and serve as Restoration Stage's legal directors. Initially created as a producing entity for Butler's play, The Truth, it has expanded to include additional projects currently in various stages of development. Since 2005, Restoration Stage has employed the talents of more than 50 performers, designers, technicians, and other support staff to produce its productions. Welcome to Studio 901, Restoration Stage.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here. It's great to
I'm
be
so
here.
happy to have you guys here and to talk about all that you have going on. But first, let's start out. We always start off at Studio 901 with one question.
Okay.
And that's, when did you start out in the business of theater? When did you get that itch, I guess? And that's going to be for all of you. We'll start with you, Courtney.
I guess for me, if I'm going to be honest, the first performance that I can remember was playing Santa Claus in the kindergarten play at Hope Sound Elementary School, where I'm from, a small town in Florida. But I've been performing, singing, dancing all of my life, and it has certainly translated into a passion for me that continues even today.
Awesome. Miss Desiree?
Well, I imagine I started around the same time.
Really?
Without telling too much information. But I was really inspired as a child by Debbie Allen.
Yes.
And so her television show Fame was life-changing to me. It actually is what brought me to the Washington, D.C. area to study at Howard University.
Yes,
so
HU.
You
So
know.
I think that is where I actually discovered my passion, not just for music, because I started off singing in church, as a lot of people did, but the theatrical aspect of it for me was realized once Fame came on television, and I realized there was this whole world of musical theater. So I guess I was a little teeny baby when that show was on.
Yes.
A few years ago.
Just a few years ago.
Steven?
I actually knew I had a gift for writing probably in the 9th or 10th grade. I wasn't doing well in English, and the teacher gave us an assignment to write a poem. And I went home, busted out a poem really quickly, and the teacher accused me of plagiarizing, because she
Why?
thought my piece was so good. So she wouldn't give me
That's
the grade.
insulting.
She wouldn't give me the grade that I deserved, but she did give me a grade to pass the class. And that's when I knew that there was something there for me as a writer. But I really got into acting after I got out of the military in '97 at Prince George's Community College, and just fell in love with the whole creativity of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably when I started, when I aged like 21, 22.
Yeah, so you took that insult and turned it into
Yeah,
a
I did.
compliment
Yeah, I
and a
did.
life
Yeah,
as a
yeah, I
result.
did.
That's beautiful. So starting with you, Courtney, again, what are some of your inspirations in theater, life, to create?
You know, I always say that my biggest inspiration in my life is my mother. My mother became the principal of the once segregated school that she could not attend as a child. And so I live by this mantra that she whispered to me on an almost daily basis, that you will not embarrass me.
I know that's right.
Yeah, and you know, and I didn't love it as a kid, but the older I get, the more grateful I am for it, because it's translated into my belief that I can't embarrass my people, and by my people I mean black folks, people
Yeah.
who look like me, telling the stories of black people, giving a humanity to black folks who have so often been left with very little, is really what I live by. And so I'm inspired by those people who do ordinary things sometimes in life, but with great dignity.
Right.
And making sure that those people are not left sort of unseen, or they're having their stories unexplored. That's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And Stephen writes those kinds of characters. So, you know, I think it's my life's mission, really, to bring those characters to life
Yeah.
through his voice.
Awesome. So your mom is your inspiration. Now, Miss Desiree Dubose, you
Yes.
are the Associate Artistic Director
Yes.
of Restoration Stage. Where do you gather your inspiration from in the role that you take on with Restoration Stage?
Wow, I think it's similar to what Courtney said. I gather my inspiration from life every day, experiences that we all have. I honestly have to say, you know, being in Washington, D.C. was a big game changer for me, and meeting people here that are from all over the world. There's so many interesting stories to tell, and, you know, being able to pass our stories down. I remember when we were in college, we talked about the griot and how
Yes.
the griot was significant to our community in terms of us learning our history. And the thing I really appreciate about the work we do at Restoration Stage is that our stories are relevant. You know, we are not trying to talk about things that have already been spoken to on stage. We're really trying to be the pulse of our community. And so that's what inspires me, everything that happens every day.
And Stephen?
I guess what inspires me actually is the people who come and see the shows. Black folks who do not know how to express their feelings, they can release their feelings. Theater is just therapeutic in some ways to the
Yes,
audience members.
absolutely it
So
is.
sometimes they see something on stage that they cannot put into their own words, but it gives them a way to escape and to express, and just the power of the audience to see the audience cry and to laugh from what they see on stage.
Yeah.
I just think it's powerful to me, and it inspires me to keep writing and putting characters that you guys know on stage and that resemble
And can
what we're going through in life.
relate to,
Yeah,
yes.
it's really, really important.
All right. So let's get right to it. Why the name Restoration Stage? Where does that come from?
Our mission at Restoration Stage is to restore the black family, one story at a time. And, you know, I'll tell you that when Restoration Stage was born, it was not some big dream, certainly of mine. I won't speak for Stephen. We co-founded it together. But Stephen had written his first play. It was called The Truth. And he had tried to get me to read this play. You know, we were busy. I was teaching at Duke Ellington. I had a lot going on. And he had been trying to get me to read this play for some time. I finally read it. And when I did, on a road trip, you know, I read the play and I knew instantly that I had to do whatever I had to do to produce the play. I knew it. I knew it in an instant. This happened, say, in March or April of that year, and by May, we had our first reading. But the company, there was no such thing as the company. You know, it didn't have a name. And we sat down and came up with a list of names, really. You know, the Change Theater Company. There were all of these different things that they all spoke to action. They spoke to our culture, yes, but also about what we could do with this gift that we had been given by the Creator. And at the end of the day, at the end of this long list was this name, this restoration idea, that it was about giving back the glory, giving back the dignity of these folks who look like us.
Yeah.
You know, these kings and queens that our parents all told us about, but that we so rarely see depicted on television or in the media. You know, I look at television even now and I think, where are the people that are like my parents?
Right.
You know, or my grandparents. My grandmother went to college. You know, this idea though that there aren't black folks who are taking care of their kids and fathers who are present and trying to do the best for their families.
That's all we see in the media.
It drives me nuts because it's as if we don't exist.
Right.
You know, And so restoration really is about this idea of restoring the family, restoring our dignity, telling our stories from our perspective without it being filtered through this thing that exists that says, oh, well, if you're too well educated or if you're too articulate, somehow that's not going to sell.
Right.
And we don't buy into that idea. So for us, restoration was the big idea. It birthed our mission, and here we are.
And ultimately, when you restore, you end up transforming, right?
That's the
Awesome.
goal. That's the goal
Right.
every day with each show.
Love that.
Sure.
I love that. What's the state of the African American theater in the district, do you feel? Is it dead? Is it living?
I
Where
won't
are
say
we?
it's dead.
It
I
has,
won't-
it has a heartbeat.
It has a heartbeat. It was difficult this summer, last summer now, I guess, to see ATCO close after, I think they did about 15 years, 15 good years of Jennifer Nelson and Tembi working their very best to keep that organization alive. And, you know, the morning that we got the news that they were finally shuttering their doors was, for me,
Yeah.
a very, very sad day. It was a sad day because, you know, it was not like it's a competition thing. You know, I want to see all black
Yeah.
artists work, and there is enough room, I think, to have all the stories told. But if I'm going to be candid, the state is that we have the larger theater companies who will put up a black show here and there, and it's Motown the musical or whatever
Yeah.
show they're doing right now, and they will sell it well, and our parents will go out and see it and support it, and they will make the money to put up the rest of their seasons where you
Yeah.
won't see people who look like us.
Right.
That's
Right.
the state of black theater.
Right.
You know, and if folks tell us that even at our show that we're doing right now, Chocolate Covered Ants, they say, oh, this should be at Arena Stage. And I tell them, no, it shouldn't be at Arena Stage. We should be building an Arena Stage. We
That's
should be
right.
supporting it. We should have a subscriber base. We should have the funding from the city. We should have all of these things in place. Like Arena Stage has been around 60 years.
Yeah.
You know, but we've got to start somewhere. I know that the work that ATCO was doing was solid. I know that
Yes.
they meant well.
Yeah.
And the idea that it was not supported is not because of the quality of their work, and really trying to figure out how we say to black folks, really, because it's nice to be supported by other people, but I think it's super important that we rather
Support
than,
each other.
Absolutely.
That is so important. When we return, we'll talk more with Restoration Stage about their creative process when it comes to writing plays. Stay close. We'll be right back. This is Studio 901.
When they test you, stand firm and move only when you hear the seatbelt click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Welcome back to Studio 901. I'm chatting with the members of Restoration Stage Incorporated. So tell me, what is the creative process that goes into writing the material that you produce for Restoration Stage?
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Playwright in Residence.
Right.
It
Stephen
really,
Butler.
it really starts with freedom. I think freedom to dream, freedom to, for me as a writer personally, I'm inspired by anything. It can be a picture or something that comes across the news. What's going on right now for us is Chocolate Covered Ants. This the whole
Love it.
thing
Let me
with.
just say, I love the storyline
Oh, thank
of
you.
Chocolate Covered Ants. It's really powerful.
Thank you. You know, with the whole Trayvon Martin thing and
Yeah.
you know, all that, what is going on? And I'm in law enforcement. My day job is law enforcement. So I'm torn. I'm
Wow.
walking both sides of the fence when it comes to that Trayvon Martin case and all the other cases like that. Being a black man, being in law enforcement, I see both sides of it. What is going on with our law enforcement? What are we doing? What's our fault for it? Was their fault in it? And just being able to express myself on paper. That's how it starts for me. And then I have Courtney and Desiree here, who are all performers and actors and dancers and singers, and I run ideas past them. But for me, it starts with me going downstairs in the basement by myself
Yeah.
and just start writing. And then after I get to a certain point where I feel confident with what I've written, I will pass it on to Courtney, who will spell check it first. And be
Okay.
like, you know, and then it would help me flush out some ideas. And then I will chime in with Desiree, and ask her some opinions, especially from the female point of view. Would you think a female would say this? Do you think a female would say that? How would a female act in this situation? What if we saw this? So it starts with me writing first, and then it's like a machine, almost the Motown
Yeah.
assembly line.
Like a think tank kind
Yeah,
of.
because
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You know, I like to tell the folks who work with us, and you know, on this production, there's about 30 people working on the production. You know, I
Wow.
like to say that I know I'm the artistic director, which means that I'm supposed to be the boss, but I don't always have the best or brightest idea in the room. And I think that to what Stephen is saying, we really do take the seed of the thing, and that for us is Stephen's writing always. You
Yeah.
know, that is the most important part.
Yeah.
But then from there, the process that it really goes through to bring it to fruition is we all have a hand in it. You know,
Yeah.
shaping the way you can't have those characters that you see in Chocolate Covered Ants without Sully Myrie bringing that character
That's right.
to life as Dr. Adrienne Hilton. I mean, I'm convinced
Phenomenal.
that
She's
no
phenomenal.
one could play that but her.
Yeah.
And at least half of that is who she is, and is where she really is authentically coming from
Yeah.
as a person. I think that without that, it would not have the same resonance, you know. But I hope that in all of the work that we've done over the years, you hear the voices of all of the wonderful performers who have passed our stages. And, you know, at this point, you know, I'm pleased to say that so many of the actors that have worked with us have gone on to do other things. I mean, the
Awesome.
lead actors from The Truth, or one of them is the new Gladiator on Scandal, Cornelius
Wow,
Smith Jr.
really?
Yeah, Isaiah Johnson is now playing Mr. on Broadway in The
Yes,
Color
he
Purple.
is.
You know, so many have gone on to do other things, but even they have contributed along the way to what this is now.
Absolutely.
And it's why I think that Restoration Stage really is such a gem in this city.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you for being a great leader and recognizing that,
yes,
you know,
yes.
you can't do it by yourself.
It's impossible. And other folks, I'm telling you, I often do not have the best idea, and I'm okay with that. You know, and I think that we've created an environment where everyone's talents are being nurtured,
Yeah.
where it's always respectful. You know, I like the people that we work with. I like the people that I work with. You know, we don't have these drag out, knock down sort of arguments about anything. You know, if we are passionate about an idea, it ends with that. It's
Right.
about the idea. But at the end of the day, we all have a great deal of respect for each other, and we know that the most important thing to do is to be true to Stephen's writing.
Yes.
And that sort of makes it easy, because I think we all, at the end of the day, have such great respect
Yeah,
for what he's
my
created.
biggest fear with growing Restoration Stage, and it's growing faster than I thought, is getting it to be so clinical. I love the homeliness of it, the family.
Yeah.
The
Once
family.
when you get so big, it's just so impersonal, and I'm afraid of that happening to us. I really don't want that to happen to us.
Right. You want to kind of keep it boutique.
But we got to grow and make some money.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And not only the
And that's
money,
what I fight for.
not only the money, but I think that the stories, for me, my mom has been having, my mother's visiting to see the show this time, you know, this go round. And, you know, the fact that the conversation that she's having is about how we get more people to see
Yeah.
what we're up to. Yeah, we're selling out in DC, which is a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah, it is.
But it really is, because we've been doing this long enough to know that not every show sells out. We've had the
Right.
opposite to be
Yeah.
a reality for us as well. But growing it means that folks beyond just the DC area, you know, across the country and around the world, really get to share in these stories,
Yeah.
because they grow us.
and
You
I'm
know,
sure that adds maybe a little bit of added pressure.
it does.
A little
Yes,
bit.
it does.
A little bit.
It does.
We'll talk more about that in a
Yeah.
second. But when we come back, we'll talk more, of course, with Restoration Stage Incorporated and what their future looks like. So stay right there. This is Studio 901. Welcome back. We're talking with Restoration Stage Incorporated. Now, before we get to the future of Restoration Stage, what would be some playwrights, writers that you would suggest up and coming folks in the theater business to study?
For me, always go to August Wilson. The reason why is he wrote honest, from the heart. He wrote people that you knew.
Yeah.
You know, for me, no one tops August Wilson for me. Ntozake Shange, and as an actor, if you're going into acting, I think study my favorite, which is Cicely Tyson.
Yes.
Not because she's just brilliantly wonderful and talented. The
And doesn't
choices
age.
she made as an actor, the roles that she decides to take. You know, Cicely Tyson has not won an Oscar, but she has turned down so many roles because it was beneath our people.
Yes.
And I think that going into the field as a person of color in the field of acting, you have to choose your roles wisely. Because once you get the chance to portray your people on stage or film, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than a paycheck.
And it's forever.
Yeah,
That's
those,
right.
those are my two things.
That's right. Great advice.
Yeah, I would
about
say
you, Desiree?
from a female perspective, the writers that I would encourage younger writers to study would be, of course, Lorraine Hansberry. I mean, she's a classic. I think her writing is so passionate and realistic. I would also encourage writers to study Lynn Nottage. She has a piece called The Blood Quilt, I believe, and it's absolutely brilliant, as well as Katori Hall. I think she's a brilliant writer. She's current, and she's politically savvy. And I think, yeah, there's another writer, and right now her name is on the tip of my tongue. But I do think the female voice is very important in the theater, and we see it more in television and film right now, but I do hope that writers will continue to study the works of women as well.
Powerful. For me, I am a great admirer of the works of Anna Deavere Smith. I enjoy the way she takes what is topical in today's society and translates that into drama, into theater that is about activism. That at the end of the day, it really is about how you can mobilize people to do something.
That's right.
Not just, you know, I tell the story about I was backstage at that theater in Bowie where we first did the workshop of
Yes.
Ants.
Bowie Center for the Performing Arts.
Yeah, I was backstage, and this very well-meaning, very nice Caucasian man, there was a sign that said Burger Palace. And I asked him, we were in the shop where they built sets. I asked him, oh, what show is that sign from? He said, oh my God, how could you be a theater person and not know that's from Greece? Oh my God. And I said to him, well, you know, I have to be honest, I've never seen Greece. You know, he's like, oh, how can you be a theater? Well, I assure you, I know the works of Baldwin. I know all of August Wilson's plays. I know there's a long list. I mean, Richard Wesley, I respect immensely. There are lots of black writers who are a part of the canon that you probably don't know.
Right.
And he said, well, that all sounds so serious. Can't sometimes theater just be for fun? I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm black, which means that, no. When
In a nutshell.
when we're given the opportunity to tell our stories on stage, or to tell any story on stage, even if it's not one that we've created, it can't just be for fun.
No.
You know, and I think that too many people who are given the opportunity to tell stories don't recognize, as you spoke about what Ms. Tyson does, don't recognize that with the responsibility of that platform, there is an obligation, I think, to make sure that you're using it to its best advantage. And
Absolutely.
telling the story of Greece and the Burger Palace sign,
Yeah.
I'm underwhelmed by the idea, but someone like Anna Deavere Smith, she is always going to take the opportunity to try to educate, try to enlighten, and try to bring change. And that's what I think is so important.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd like to add Regina Taylor to that list
Okay.
as well. I had the pleasure of working with her years ago on a piece she wrote called Crowns, but she's also a resident playwright at the Goodman Theater in Chicago. And I think, as Miss Cicely Tyson, she's also an actress who has crossed over into writing, and I feel that her work is very sensitive, very timely, and she's very accessible as well. And so I definitely would recommend that young artists would study her writing as well as her acting.
All
Yeah,
right,
it's
great
brilliant.
advice. Great advice, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, when we return, we'll talk more with Restoration Stage, so keep it right there. This is Studio 901 on DCTV.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. It's like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's
Have you had sex in this car yet?
Welcome back to Studio 901. Now, really quickly, tell me what the future of Restoration Stage holds and how we can get in contact with you.
The future is a permanent space for Restoration Stage to produce its plays here in the DMV. And in the immediate future, we have a show called Veils about women from the Civil Rights Movement that will be at the Atlas in March, just in time for Women's History Month. And this fall, we will debut Stephen's brand new play, and it's his best work. It's called The Very Last Days of the First Colored Circus, and that will
Alright.
be at the Anacostia in October and November of 2016. We're super
Awesome.
excited.
Yes, we look forward to it. Thank you so much, Restoration Stage, for being here.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having us. It's been a
Absolutely.
pleasure.
And
Thank you
fun.
for taking the time to speak with us.
Yes.
Getting the word out about what we think is super important
It
for people
is
to know
very important.
about sort of what we're up to. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you all so much for tuning in to Studio 901. It's been so fun sitting down and talking with Restoration Stage Incorporated. They are definitely good folks to look out for in this area if you're looking for good theater that highlights the stories of people of color and told by people of color. Remember, Studio 901 spotlights emerging artists from all over the DMV that are creating and performing right in our own backyard. If you want to find out more about what you saw today, hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at YourDCTV, or visit our website at dctv.org. Before you leave, I want to leave you with this quote from English playwright Simon Stevens. Theatrical form is controlled or wrought by these questions being answered. The decisions you, the playwright, make, inspired by these questions and others, absolutely define the plays you write and the theatrical experience you help make. Join us for another episode of Studio 901, where we just might spotlight you. I'm Kiana Faircloth. Until next time.